Laddies and gentlemans, welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Another work week awaits us. Monday morning and all that, but now the dust has settled on the Canelo Bivol fight, or should I say Bivol Canelo, because I think Bivol's had enough disrespect over the last weekend. So we should be putting his name first. He was the champ, blah blah blah. Yeah, Bivol versus Canelo. A few sort of thoughts now the dust has settled. First of all, it's been said by a lot of people, but I'm going to repeat it, that I'm amazed he got the decision, Bivol. Absolutely amazed, because I think if people had even considered that an option, and so few did, a lot more people would have picked Bivol to win the fight, because he was the natural light heavyweight. He's very, very skillful. Another point I would make is that he, to be honest with you, and I hold my hands up here, he is a lot better than I thought he was. I always rated him quite highly. I always thought he had skills, but I always thought he was very, he sort of fought down to the level of his opponent very often. And it was difficult to sort of gauge how many proper gears he had. And also he was a little bit of a traditional fighter. In fact, looking at him there in that Canelo fight, he's a lot less conventional than I thought he was. So I have to hold my hands up and say, even though I've seen Bivol a lot before, I hadn't thought he had those different dimensions to his ability, to his skill set. So that's another thing. But getting back to the issue of the cards, 115, 113 on all three cards, I thought that was too close. I had it 116, 112, which, by the way, a lot of people are telling me, oh no, that's too close, 116, 112. No, what are you on about? This was at least a 118, 110. I don't agree, but the point is that the official cards, 115, 113, all three of them. Now, I was watching G-Man's live gig yesterday on Sunday. Shout out to G-Man as always. Brilliant channel, G-Man Boxing. Go over there if you haven't subscribed. And he raised the issue that, was it one or all three of the judges? I can't remember, but let's just say it was one of them, just one of them, gave the first 4 rounds to Canelo. Now, I gave one of those rounds. I gave the second round to Canelo, although that was quite a close round. And I suppose some people could say, well, no, I thought Bivol won that round as well. But I thought Canelo edged that round. But I had him 3-1 up after 4. To give Canelo those 4 rounds, you have got to be either so incompetent that a person who is literally blind could score that fight better than you, or you have to be so dumb, so dumber than concrete, that if you were a cat and you took a shit, you'd bury yourself. There is no way on this planet, on any planet, in any universe, in any parallel universe, that Canelo won the first 4 rounds of that fight. You have to be unbelievably competent or entirely corrupt or dumber than dog shit to give the first 4 rounds to Canelo. There's no way on earth he won those rounds. So that's something that really I hadn't realised, because like a lot of people, I'm thinking, well, 115, 113 was close, but the right man won. So I didn't go into the cards. G-Man did, and I'm sure he's not the only one, but he was the one I heard it from. First 4 rounds to Canelo. My God. My God. Anyway, what a strange sport this is. At least the people that run it and facilitate it and judge it are very, very strange people. Yeah, other aspects of the fight, like I say, I thought Bivol was better than I expected him to be. Massive respect to him. His mental strength needs to be mentioned as well, because although he clearly has a skill set that I and many others weren't aware of, or the extent of it we weren't aware of, but his mental strength is something that was also on display, because he went in there with just supreme confidence. He had a job to do. He was totally focused. He was totally, almost serene. which I think can be mistaken for someone who's just turning up and maybe isn't that confident, if someone is that quiet. But you know the old saying, still waters run deep. True. And on this occasion, Canelo, with his, pomp and circumstance, his mariachi band and all that business, the big intro, empty vessels on this occasion made the most noise. So yeah, mental strength, Bivol's got it. Seems like such a quiet, unassuming guy as well. You see him in interviews afterwards. The rematch has been invoked. Let's not forget that. Yeah, I mean, would it be the same result? I would say yes. I don't really, looking back at the fight, I don't really see how Canelo can look at that. He can probably, well, he can almost certainly say I could have done things better, but I don't think, having underrated him, I'm now saying that I don't think we've seen the best of Bivol, really, because at the end of that fight, he broke and sweat, but that's about it. There were no marks on him. He looked like he could have gone for at least another 5 rounds. He looked fine. He looked absolutely fine. He was never in the remotest of trouble against Canelo, either technically, either in terms of power. He completely contained any strengths that Canelo had. And again, we're talking technique with mental prowess. Very, very impressive from Bivol. The thing that I want to really emphasise, I've left this more or less to last, although I might think of something else in a moment, but the thing that I really want to stress is the disgraceful treatment of Bivol before and after this fight. Certainly before it. Because, as we know what's going on in Ukraine. It is an utter disgrace. It's an act of criminality. It's an unnecessary war. I'm not a pacifist, I wouldn't say that, but to me, war is the absolute atom bomb. It's the thing where you have to do it to defend yourself. You don't go around smashing up other people's countries. And we in the West are quite familiar with doing that, especially America. On this occasion, it's the Russians doing it. It's a disgrace. But it is not Dmitry Bivol's fault, okay? And the way he was treated. No Russian national anthem played, even though the national anthem of Russia wipes the floor with the American one and just about every other national anthem. And by the way, why is the American national anthem played when neither fighter is American? I don't get that. I know the Americans are obsessed with jingoism. They call it patriotism. I call it jingoism, Real patriots will criticise their own country because they want to improve it. Jingoism is just sort of blind devotion to a flag or a country or an idea. But why are they playing the national anthem? Why are they playing the Star Spangled Banner in any fight that doesn't involve an American fighter? I don't get it. And they have all the military there and all that. Anyway, getting back to the Russian national anthem, why wasn't it played? Dmitry Bivol may not support Vladimir Putin's war. Someone made a point, actually, I think this was in G-Man's live as well, that Max Schmeling, when he fought Joe Louis, a German, of course, was Germany was currently under Nazi rule. Do we blame the individual for the crimes of politicians? Well, I think you have to be damn stupid if you do. Bivol was the champion. He came in first, into the ring first. He was paid far less than Canelo, which I suppose you could crunch the numbers and say, well, economics say that he should be paid less. Okay. But to not play the anthem, to have certain members of ruling bodies and certain managers and journalists say that he shouldn't have even been fighting just because he's Russian, that's reverse bigotry. That's a case of saying, well, if you're attached to a country, regardless of whether you approve or disapprove of its policies, of its foreign policies, you are guilty as well. I cannot think of, and I am someone who is on the political left, but I cannot think of a worse type of fascism than that. As far as I'm concerned, let's turn this on its head. I'm someone who despises this current British government. I loathe Boris Johnson and his collection of tawdry, infantile, completely corrupt and out of touch, self-serving, Bullingdon Club boys and old Etonians. I hate them. I think they're bad for Britain. I think they're an utter disgrace. I think they handle the whole COVID thing disgracefully. And I have absolutely no faith and no trust whatsoever in them. But they're the government. Does that make me guilty as well? Does that make, if Britain was to, let's say Britain joined Russia, they wouldn't, but let's say they joined Russia in beating up Ukraine, does that mean I should be banned? Or as they call it nowadays, cancelled? You have to be a fool to believe this stuff. It's a disgrace the way Bivol was treated. Individuals are not countries, they are individuals. During the apartheid regime, which some of us are old enough to remember in South Africa, sanctions were put out against apartheid, against South Africa. No problem with that. No problem with sanctions against Russia either. Political sanctions, economic sanctions. I've got no problem. Of course, some people, Margaret Thatcher was one of them, opposed those sanctions. The sanctions worked because apartheid eventually fell. It had to, couldn't handle it economically. So yeah, no problem with sanctions against Russia at all. It worked against South Africa, and we shouldn't be dealing with a country whose leaders are warmongers. But to pick on an individual person, Bivol, who's, as far as I know, has never expressed any support for Putin and his disgusting, disgraceful war. What do you achieve by picking on these individual people? I don't get it, and I don't get it because there's nothing to get. It's, like I say, it's just plain bigotry. So I had to get it off my chest. I support Bivol as an individual. He seems like a decent geezer. And getting back to boxing, you know, this is sport, or martial arts if you prefer. I always feel reluctant to call boxing a sport because it ain't a game, is it? We know that. But yeah, those are a few random thoughts on, a few random afterthoughts, if you like, on Bivol versus Canelo. See, I've said it right now. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. What have I missed out? What's next for Bivol? The rematch? How does GGG feel? I bet he's pissed off big time. He still wants Canelo. He still feels that there's a justice, an injustice not being rectified. Where does GGG go if he doesn't get Canelo, which he won't? I don't know. Defense of his title, I suppose. Titles, plural. Yeah. So there you go, anyway. That's my spiel for today. Leave your comments below. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Big up Dmitry Bivol. Fuck Putin and your war. Fuck the judges. Who else should we fuck? And not in a good way. I'll leave it to you to decide. Take care of yourselves. Speak soon. As always, much love.